We have two presenters today, Jason Ouellette, Director of Product Management, Access Control for Tyco Security Products, who will present to you all the details of this release, and Jeff Hobbs, Senior Product Manager for American Dynamics Victor and DigiWedge products, who will delve into the unification of Secure 9000 with Victor. So without further ado, I'll hand the webinar over to Jason. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Carol, and certainly welcome everybody to the call. We're excited today to be talking about the Secure 9000 version 2.30 launch and the details of. So what you're going to see coming up on your presentation screens now is a bit of an agenda of what we're going to flow through. As Carol has indicated, we're going to talk about the new features that are included with Secure 9000 version 2.30. We're going to give an update on some of the hardware that is as well touched by this upgrade. And then we're also going to end today's presentation talking about the unification of both the server and the unified client and some of the advantages. So that'll be an important part of today's message. And just while we're looking at this agenda, I also want to touch on sort of the third bullet here in the slide that you're looking at that talks about the platform updates. So what we have done is to ensure that version 2.30 is now compatible with the latest releases for our OS, our supported OS platform, Microsoft, both for SQL Server and on the server side for Windows Server. It's now compatible with 2012, and for the client side, we have support for Windows 8. So those are all included with the launches as part of Secure 9000 2.30. So we'll begin now to go through the detail of the individual features. Coming up here in just a moment, what you're going to see is transition to Guard Tour as our first feature. This is a key feature that was part of the Secure 800, if you're familiar with that as our previous flagship product. And of course, all the functionality that was traditionally covered with Secure 800 has been brought forward to the 9000, but our mission has always been and remains true for this feature and others that are being brought forward to make it better. So you can do all the expected things that 800 provided you with being able to configure your tours, monitor them, executing the tour, and even the basic event management. But what 9000 adds to this now is a hook to email notifications and document support as well. So if you think about configuring a tour and a guard coming up getting ready to conduct the tour, if that person could receive an email that has a document attached that says, here's the instructions of the tour, here's all of the tour stops that you need to execute, but now you've got a 15-minute heads up that tour is about to begin, and let Secure 9000 manage that notification for you. That's something that 800 wasn't capable of in the past. And as well, we've added to the notifications and error handling conditions through the power of the Secure 9000 event engine, the ability to send notifications wrapped around whether a stop is early, late, on time, or if there is a duress or any other type of condition that can happen during a normal guard tour. So all of those are key enhancements above and beyond what 800 had provided, and certainly we're excited to be seeing that added to version 2.30 for customers that might be looking at migrations forward from 800 to 9000. So we'll begin to then transition to our next feature of topic. Again, coming from 800 forward to the 9000 is dual phase acknowledgement. This is a feature, if you're familiar today with the unification in Victor, dual phase acknowledgement has been available for this past release with Victor. It now comes back to Secure 9000, and as I was indicating with Guard Tour, how do we make it even better? So what I'm going to show you here on this slide is an event configuration screen that shows initially an event that's just configured to be sent to the monitoring station of the Secure 9000. And this new icon, which is represented by the yellow background and the lightning bolt, is a new status icon that is reflective of an information-only event. So an event that doesn't require any acknowledgement or interaction by a guard. So that's new for version 2.30. The next state that'll be coming up on your screens now is if I then further flag this configuration that the event does require acknowledgement. This icon is not new. This has been in the product since release 1, but that red background with the lightning bolt indicating it's an event that does require interaction and an acknowledgement by a monitoring person or guard. So, so that status is existing. And then there's the next one coming up on your screen, which is representative of that dual phase, right? The second phase of acknowledgement that we call clear. So I can now indicate that not only does this event need to be sent to the monitoring station, and it requires acknowledgement, additionally, it requires a clearing phase. And there are 2 checkboxes underneath this configuration option, which I want to point out, because they are, again, enhancements to what event management could do previously with the 9000 or even with the 800. So the second to the last checkbox gives you the ability now that if, for instance, the door is forced open, and then that alarm comes into the monitoring station, the guard acknowledges it, and it moves to the clear stage. If the door forces again before the alarm is cleared, do you want that to go back to an initial acknowledgement state or to stay in the clear pane? And you can decide that on a per event basis. And then the last checkbox there is the ability to add concurrence to the clearing of an event. So I can make it that whoever the guard is that did the initial acknowledgement of the forced door can't be the same person that clears it from the monitoring station. So again, giving you the ability to have a concurrence on event management. So yes, dual acknowledgement brought forward, and yes to it is improved and made better with more options in Secure 9000 version 2.30. So I'll transition now to the next slide, which sort of will give you a preview of how the 2-phase acknowledgement works. So what you're looking at now, excuse me, is an application layout for the monitoring station. In the top left is an activity viewer. In the middle pane is an event acknowledgement pane, and at the very bottom is the new clear pane. So I've set up my 2-phase acknowledgement as a view, and then on the right I have a basic swipe and show and just an area count dynamic view. So that's what's in this application layout. But what you see selected in the middle is an event referencing an X-forced door. And so if I go through now, and you'll see that I'm going to click on the toolbar and select to acknowledge this event, that will pop open a screen requiring me to log a comment. So I'll put in here a note that this indicates that the door has been forced and I've dispatched somebody to investigate what's going on with the door. And from there, once I save that comment, you'll note that this event has now moved to that bottom new pane, the clear pane, and it stays there as a to-do task, right? And as we looked at in the previous screen, I can decide then if this forces again before I clear it from this level to move it back to the previous level. And I can also additionally force whether now that I'm the person that acknowledged it, can I also clear this, or does that have to be a different concurrence operator? So again, just to give you a preview of how that works. And then I'm going to transition one more time here and show you another layout that's been created for the monitoring station, which can clearly give 3 levels of view of event acknowledgement. So what you're going to see as the screen loads is at the very top a pending acknowledge, which is the new alarms that are coming in. That the middle pane, which gives you the now dual phase of being cleared, and then the bottom, which is events that are configured to be sent to the monitoring station but require no interaction. In other words, they're information only. So that covers our dual phase acknowledgement. Again, a great enhancement and add to the Secure 9000 version 2.30. The next feature we're going to talk about is advanced door monitoring. Again, this was a capability of Secure 800, but it again needs to be something that we try to make not just the same, but how do we do it better. So what you'll see in this slide is a complex door entry, right, a dual door. But this could be things like airport jetways where you have multiple sensors. And the challenge being today that a door really only supports 2 inputs, a request to exit and a door state monitor. So what you're going to see coming up now is that we've added from 2 to 11 inputs that can be configured for a door. And so the slide here is going to just point out what those 11 additional inputs can be, which is to now have not just 1 DSM, but 2 requests to exit, bond sensors in case you have mag locks, and of course For a dual entry door, that could be 2 different bond sensors, a crash bar sensor for an emergency egress. You have cam and bolt detectors, depending on what you're using for a strike if you're not using mag locks. Fire input to indicate why the door might be in a release mode for fire safety, and as well a key override and 2 inputs specific to power failure. But the fact that all of these additional inputs are now related to the door object, what you'll see on the left side of the slide here under the monitoring bullet is all of the new manual actions that can be taken by simply right-clicking on a door. These are things in the past that you would have had to configure disparate inputs out of the 9000, and by just using naming to try to associate that with the door and then have to go find those if you wanted to conduct some sort of manual action. Now it's all simply just part of the door object, which allows for superior reporting and management of complex doors. So that's the advanced door feature. Again, I think a great add for version 2.30. And then Feature Go, probably one of the more new, innovative, exciting features coming for 2.30. This allows us to take advantage of both iOS version 7.1 and newer, and as well Android version 4.3 or newer, as a mobile platform for Secure 9000. So what we're able to do, because we've chosen to follow a native app development, not just a hokey HTML web page, we can actually differentiate between tablet and phone to better utilize the real estate and have a very rich user experience because these are native apps built off that platform. And so now let's talk about a little bit of what the functionality is that I get with Secure Go. It's really broken into sort of 3 levels. One is, how do we help the integrator to be able to better leverage what they do every day using Secure Go, and that's through doing things like commissioning. So as I'm commissioning a new door, typically this is 2 people, one at the Security Operations Center monitoring the door, and 1 person at the door actually generating all of the normal conditions, right? Access grant, a reject, a held, a forced, and so forth. And so as I go through and create the conditions at the door, the other person in the Security Operations Center confirms that everything is working. Now, independently, I can just take my Go application, be at the door, and do all that verification and event acknowledgement all independently. So certainly a great improvement for an integrator tool. The next part of this is a very comprehensive personnel administrator. So all of the tasks that you can do with 9000 to add, modify, delete, update fields, including UDS on personnel, as well as to be able to assign and remove clearances for personnel and add and remove credentials, right? So that whole piece can be managed directly through your Secure Go application. You can also capture images for your badging. So again, extremely comprehensive in terms of a personnel management tool. And then the last piece is, just as the standard operator of the Secure 9000, I can now extend out to my Go to be able to do full event monitoring, activity acknowledgement, as well as to drive manual actions like unlocking a door from someplace remotely in the building through my Go app. The Go app is a Wi-Fi-based application. However, it's VPN from your mobile device that you are able to drive this through your cellular connection. So certainly we're excited about this feature set. These are available on both the iTunes and as well the Google Play Place for download. The application download is free, and this only goes against the concurrent licenses of the Secure 9000. So there is no additional charge related to the use of Secure Go. All right, next we're going to transition into a conversation and an update around the Secure 9000 Enterprise. So for our enterprise today, you would be familiar with that we can support up to 20 satellite application servers, as you can see here on the slide. And to go to an enterprise, then that is introducing a master application server in the middle, as you can see coming up now. And in the past, with version 2.20 or earlier of our enterprise, you could upgrade one standalone server and bring that into a new mass enterprise environment. The other 19 servers, as represented by the blue circles in this slide, are left to be either new installs or migrations. You could not do an upgrade, making existing installs into an enterprise fairly complex and expensive. So now with version 2.30, And as you'll see building here, I can just simply put in my upgrade disk and upgrade all of those additional 19 servers to satellite application servers without the need of any additional migration or expensive import-export efforts. So certainly a significant benefit to building on the enterprise environment for Secure 9000 and available with version 2.30. So next, we're going to talk about some key product enhancements that have been done. This is through efforts with our engineering team to start to include a more agile process to how we handle feedback from the field. So a number of these items here are a result of direct customer feedback, feedback from our sales team, feedback from trade shows, tech support, and so forth. And where some of these things are very simple, less than a day's effort to implement, traditionally we would have said that this is not in the scope of a project and it will have to wait till the next release. Somebody could wait up to 18 months to catch the next release for something as simple as a feature here that I'm going to demonstrate to you called the new button. So what I'm going to bring up on your screens to view now, just take me a second here to transition. You're going to see the admin client coming up on your window, and in the center of that is an event configuration window. So what I want to take you through as an explanation of what this new link button is, if I'm here on this screen and I've configured a new, let's say it's a force-door event, and I can go through and I can configure all of my general activity. I can go to my acknowledgement tab and decide how I want the acknowledgements to work, as you can see that building on your slide there. And then once I get all that configured all the way through, one of the last steps I might do is to go over here to the Actions tab to define what do I want this event to actually take care of for me. And in this particular case, I'm going to say that this event is going to activate another event. And so for any of you that may have had experience in actually building these systems from the ground up, it's not uncommon to get to this point and realize, wait a minute, I haven't actually created the event I want to link yet. So what I would have to do now is to save and close out of this, go create the whole new event, just as you've seen me do with this one, and then close that, come back to this event, get back to the Actions pane, and then link it. So it was very painful if you didn't get things built in the exact right sequence. Well, now, if you look towards the bottom part of this event screen, you're going to see where the event selection is and the triple ellipse button. Next to that is a down arrow now, and when I hit that, you're going to see popping up a menu option that says New. When I click that New, that's going to open up a brand new event, and I'm just going to type in here, Jason's new event, and I'm going to hit Save and Close. But of course, I would go through and do all my normal configuration in the real world. But what you're going to see here is that as I save and close Jason's new event, that has brought it into my previous event and made the link automatically without me having to save and go all the way back out. And now that that event has been created, I have off that same down arrow the option to either create a new link and break it from this one, or edit the existing one that I just created right from within the event. So a very small feature, but very powerful in terms of the usability of the product and what it adds. So that's one of the key enhancements. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump back here to the presentation. The next feature that is an enhancement to add has to deal with the monitoring station. I'm just having a little bit of trouble here with my mouse control. All right, so what you see coming up on your screen now is the Secure 9000 monitoring station. And if you look on the right-hand side where the scroll bar is, as I click into that scroll bar, you're going to see pop up at the very top of the activity viewer a green bar indicating a 30-second lock. And that may take a second for you guys to see because of the refresh rates here. But as that's loading and you see that timer, in the past releases, if that 30 seconds expired, it would go back to live activity. And now simply by clicking again in the scroll bar or clicking in that green bar where the timer is ticking down, it will automatically refresh the 30 seconds and prevent me from going back to live activity. So again, a very small enhancement, from usability of the monitoring station, it's actually a really big add. So so that takes care of the freeze bar. The next item that you're going to see coming up here in the enhancements is a map object selection. So this particular feature is just if I'm building, for instance, a door group. In the past, you would go through a list of all the doors in the system to pick which ones you want to go into the door group. We've now added the ability for any of those selections through a new icon that represents a building to launch maps and select the objects that you want to build into the group through a map rather than a dynamic list. So this gives a much more graphical way of doing things, much more intuitive than a simple list by name. The next enhancement is the ability to do full email authentication for Microsoft Exchange or other like Lotus Notes or that require both username and password. Up before version 2.30, it was always just the SNMTP mail, which is considered spam by most large corporations and traditionally is blocked. So it limited the ability to leverage the power of email. And now with full authenticated email, those limits are gone. And certainly, as we discussed at the beginning of this presentation around Guard4, this allows you to leverage and really use the email notifications along with that feature, and as well just the event engine. So for instance, being able to schedule and send reports and do that through email now through your 9000. So again, small enhancement request that didn't have to wait for a future release. We were able to get into 2.30. The next enhancement is around just building off of Microsoft's known behavior of cut and paste. So if I'm in a dynamic view of personnel or on my monitoring station looking at activities or events, I can select items, by doing a control and selecting random items, or using shift and doing groups of items, or control A to select everything, and then press control C to copy it, open up my favorite text editor, could be Notepad or anything else, do a control V for paste, and it will simply drop in a comma-delimited text value of all of the items that were previously selected. So a great add based on just standard Microsoft behaviors to be able to get information out of Secure 9000 and to help, for instance, with reporting or sorting or configuring of your access control. The next enhancement, again, fairly small in implementation, but a great add for usability, is now making it available to assign privileges for operators by groups. So this is our first step in a roles-based approach, creating a group, for instance, called maybe the security operations staff. And I could have 5 or 6 privileges that are tied to that, and then now instead of having to go and remember the 5 different privileges that I have to assign to each operator that's in that role, I now just assign it based on that group and just manage the individual privileges, knowing that everybody assigned to that group automatically gets updated. So a nice enhancement, again, to the way we administer and handle privilege assignment. And of course, that comes with now a better visibility of running a report to show who has privileges and access to what within your access control system. And then the last enhancement is around reoccurring schedules. So within Secure 9000 now, you have a much more intuitive graphical interface that allows you to do the behaviors you expect from a reoccurring schedule. Things like picking I want something to happen on the last day of every month. That's now a simple radio button checkbox that you can do. So again, small things that we were able to get additional to what was agreed for the 2.30 launch, and I think you're going to find add a lot of value to the daily use of the product. Okay, so we're going to transition now into a conversation around some of the hardware updates for Secure 9000 with version 2.30. The first of those being our update to site server. So for version 2.30, we're on a whole new platform in terms of the physical box. It's an operating system update from Windows XP to now Windows 7 embedded, and a significant improvement on both the processing power, memory, and storage space that's included with that box. One of the key things that I would touch on here, though, is from your user experience as you fire up one of these for the first time, you're going to find a much improved startup wizard that makes the configuration of the site server very, very easy. And also an intuitive health dashboard that's not only showing you things like the current status of memory and CPU usage of the site server box, but also showing you the health status of things like your doors and your controllers, right? So your core access control information. So that'll be also up on the view of your dashboard for the site server. This continues to be available in the traditional 8, 16, and 32-liter models. And then the last of the hardware features that we really want to get into here is our launch of ISTAR Ultra, coming out in approximately 2 weeks from now, so just following the heels of the Seeker 9000 version 2.30. But the ISTAR Ultra is our replacement for ISTAR Pro, and then a whole lot more. As you can see here, some of the key benefits. It includes the embedded lock power, both 12 and 24 volts, that you can service from the panel, which reduces the total cost of ownership and being able to run the door, as well significant change when it comes to the network performance. You now have 2 native gigabit Ethernet ports. These are full duplex auto negotiating. So on today's technology, where corporations are running, backbones that are fiber and true gigabit networks, an ISTAR Pro today is usually frowned upon because it is 10 megabits only. It's only half duplex, and frequently requires having to stick a hub to be compatible on a gigabit network. So ISTAR Ultra will speak that language right out of the box, and certainly is a huge performance improvement from that standpoint. We'll continue to have the expected support for the Wiegand and RM readers, but we're also expanding so that each port off of the ISTAR Ultra is able to be an independent protocol. So in the future, you can expect to see OSDP and other protocols supported for readers off that same platform. We're going to have this offered right out of the gun here in 2 weeks with both rack and wall mount options. We'll take a look at those in a moment. And as well, it's a revolutionary change for us, moving from a Windows CE embedded platform to now a Linux OS, much improved from security aspects, and certainly much more widely accepted as a true embedded edge device. And then the last thing is just to say that we, of course, gone through the latest standards to make sure that from OpenSSL, all the security concerns that you've heard in the market about things like Heartbleed have all been addressed in our latest updates for the encryption. This next slide that's going to come up just gives you a side-by-side comparison, showing you the true improvements of ISTAR Ultra over Pro and our current Edge and EX lines. Again, just quick notes here. You're moving from megabits to gigabits in terms of memory and storage. From the processing side, you've gone from a real embedded device to almost PC power here with dual port technology. And then, real compelling here is the value for the money on ISTAR Ultra. It's almost double the I/O, right? Your input output and readers, the capacity is pretty much double when you move to an ISTAR Ultra. So what's coming up now, just a preview of what the Ultra wall mount looks like. A couple key notes here is that this is a larger panel than ISTAR Pro. That can is about 4 inches in diameter all the way around, larger than Pro. And that has to do with the improvements on the connectors to use standard screws as opposed to the smaller jeweler and the increased capacity of inputs and outputs. The other improvement here to point out real quick is the use of the USB cables connecting the GCM module at the top of the can to the 2 individual ACM modules. This allows you, if you're not using a standard can, but your own custom installs, much more flexibility over the previous moving cables used with ISTAR Pro. The next slide coming up then is going to give you a preview of the rack mount. You'll see here at the top is the ACM module and the bottom is the GCM module. Just a couple quick notes here. This can handle both 2 and 4 post racks. The fact that we are now a 6th spot in the rack allows for no need to have a service loop, which is an improvement from the installability. And as well, these are quarter or half depth for the rack, so you can mount both front and back of rack to utilize the use space, because from an IT perspective, that certainly is cost. And then just a quick note on encryption as we're rounding out the hardware here. There is a firmware update needed to take advantage of the latest encryption, so please plan as you're updating to version 2.30 that the ISTARs have a new version 6.x that'll be available and need to be upgraded in the field. Just to give you what it means for ISTAR Ultra when it comes to communication and clustering with other ISTARs, you can put Ultra in a non-encrypted mode to be clustered with Classic and Pros, or if you put it in its encrypted mode, it can be clustered with PXs and edges. Again, that requires the 6.x firmware. So the last thing we'll talk about here on ISTAR Ultra is also the support for the Imperial wireless lock. You can, on top of the 16 wired locks, get an additional 16 wireless Imperial locks, or if you're just doing wireless locks, 32 total Imperial locks off of a GCM module by itself. You can see here the extended non-traditional lock sets that are supported from ASA Abloy. Certainly powerful on how we add more doors to an existing access control. And the next slide here just gives you a little bit of a topology of how that's all connected. So ISTAR Ultra through 45 communicates to the Imperial hubs from ASA Abloy, which then go through their proprietary wireless communication off to the supported lock sets. And that's all then communicating back to Secure 9000. So the decisions are all coming through the ISTAR technology. And so now I'm going to be transitioning to a conversation about our unified platform, and just a moment transitioning for Jeff to give you a deeper dive on what it means for unified and the Victor experience. But before we do that, just to talk about the new installer, because there's a couple of key changes and messages that are extremely important to know and understand. First is that there is no longer two different installations or disks that are required to install Secure 9000 and then the Victor application. So today, we have truly unified our product, and we have one installer that does both products. So what you'll see on the left side of the screenshot is the initial install screen that comes up on a brand new clean install. You see the choice that I can install either American Dynamics or Software House. And the key thing here is that if you're going to do a Secure 9000 standalone, or you're doing Secure 9000 in a unified, you would go through the Software House option. And for Victor by itself, then that is through the American Dynamics option. The screen on the right then shows when you choose Software House, the configuration and the options that you have available. And in this case, what you're going to see is in that red box, a name change to the server component. So it's no longer called the Secure 9000 server because we have one server that does both products. It is now called the Victor application server, Victor being the name that represents unification for Tyco security products. So please don't be alarmed when you see this or think that something is missing and that the server is not here. The server is now called Victor application server, and everything else that you will see through the rest of the install is just as you've known it in the past. So no other changes. So that's the key messages here. One install does both products, and the Software House option is what you need if you're going to do either standalone 9000 or a unified install. And with that, I'm going to transition over to Jeff Hobbs, who's going to take you through a little bit more of the Victor experience.
Thank you, Jason. Good day, everybody. Hopefully everyone's doing great. When faced with architecting our next generation network video client, our engineers really set out to make a complete unified security experience. They took the latest and greatest WPF and .NET Windows Presentation Foundation technologies from Microsoft and implemented them in a unified security console. In this console, they're able to bring together all the alerts, the reporting, and the events from all of our access control, video, intrusion, and even our fire detection systems and bring them together in a singular interface that really gives you a visual look at all the actionable mission-critical information. Using a unified architecture, we're able to save time and money for everybody in the organization. By consolidating the SQL database and common services, we're able to reduce the number of services and SQL applications required. This really brings down the number of Windows servers that we need in an organization. This approach not only slashes the initial capital investment, but it reduces ongoing infrastructure and maintenance costs associated with the typical access control systems. Because we're using a blend of enterprise-class operating systems, our purpose-built recorders and panels are able to leverage the SUSE technology in the Linux platform for really maximum security and performance. Because we're only using just enough operating system to boot and use only the needed services, we're able to lock down access the areas of an operating system that are typically vulnerable to attacks. So we're able to use this blended approach to really increase high availability performance and redundancies and offer better solutions at a more reliable cost. In addition to all these great features, with a unified journal and directory server, Victor makes the reporting, programming, and maintenance easier for everybody in the system. It's easier to manage, it's easier to track, and it's easier to integrate for everybody in the system, the operators and integrators are alike. You know, like I mentioned, this is really built from the ground up as an integration and unified platform. So we end up taking a video approach and really leveraged all the integrations that existed today in the Secure 9000 platform. Using this powerful connected program, we're really able to augment this existing integration platform by associating and tightly knitting the American Dynamics and Exact video products through third-party SDKs, APIs, or bidirectional interface alerts or alarms. We could, you know, maybe bring up a camera when someone uses an intercom to make sure that that's the FedEx guy there. Either one, let them in or deny them based on a visual assessment. We could move a PTZ over to an area on a zone, on a map, based on some sort of intrusion detection that we may have. Or we can simply start recording based on a badge presentation in the interview room. The combination of these two systems really allows a lot of use cases for flexible and easy to deploy solutions. You know, not to be too lost with this for most users, but the look and feel is very, very similar to anybody who's already using a secure system. It's easy to enterprise architecture, and it's easy to transition for anybody that's currently using the system. Utilizing the same code team and developers, we really were able to bring together all the functionality and features from the 9000 and bring together all the integration in a video-centric format. If you are building from an existing system, you can see all the program doors, users, events, and integrations, and really just associate those things to a more powerful video situation. With features like Swipe and Show, Unified Maps, and Unified Activity Viewers, Victor provides a single security dashboard of all the security information. With additional features and functionalities, aim to reduce investigation times and provide real-time video alerts of any access control breach. Victor is really able to give you guys the ability to search and build a video evidence case around an enterprise search or from a simple secure report. These are very, very simple and easy to use, which is typically a two-stage process for any access control system on the market. With our singular approach, though, Victor really allows this operator to locally or remotely visually verify, review, and export that video for any threat or vulnerability in the system. Finally, with a visual approach to all the security, our visual reporting really allows you to interpret and see the data differently. The cross-functional data really can help anybody in operations, in marketing, or simply by improving workflow through the organization. For this instance here, we're using a visual verification of alarms to easily driven from a report that's from a door forced open to see what sort of activities happen and see the visual verification and playback of that time. Access control and videos combined really can make a smarter system. And here's an example of us leveraging the unified database to create access control rules and dependencies based on the built-in analytics of the video edge system. With an added video intelligence layer, we can disable a reader if a camera was recording and had an issue, or we can actually augment coverage to a certain area by moving a PTZ to some sort of area that has a critical need. Finally, by utilizing information from both the physical and visual data, we can create a more powerful picture and secure environment for everybody in the operating system. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and I'd like to pass it back over to Carol.
I'm going to now check to see if there are any questions. And it doesn't look like there are any questions. Feel free, if you have any questions, to type the questions into the question box to the right of your screen. But it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions at the moment. If you do have any...
Carol, we'll take just a moment here in case there are some questions, but just one thing to let everybody know as a reminder, if you're upgrading from any other version to version 230 of Secure 9000, to remember to check the compatibility matrix because ultimately knowing that that drivers that customers may be using with Secure 9000 through the Connected program are compatible with 230 is something you want to know before the upgrade. So just as a reminder, sometimes those are things that get forgotten till go time, and really important to check the Software House website, go to the compatibility matrix for the Connected program, and ensure that all of the drivers needed for that customer are available for the appropriate upgrade version.
Thank you for that, Jason. A couple of questions did come through. What is the date for this new release, and can I order the new version now?
Yeah, so great question. So the software is actually available on the Software House website today. It's been there for about the past week and a half. So software download 230 is available now. The official RP7 for version 230 was approved today, so as of today it will be coming out through production as well.
It seems like that's it for questions. If anybody should have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to Jason, and he'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So on that note, we're going to end the webinar, and thank you all for joining, and have a great day. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody.